What's good, family? It's your man the YB, back once again. Big shout out to my doggy, Jaden Anthony, for coming through and boosting the coin up. So, as you've seen by the title, we got some breaking news right now regarding your man's Anthony YARDE, who officially beats BETERBIEV, aka Habib looking ass dude, on the judges' scorecards. That's just what it is, people. Oops. Yeah, my doggy Anthony YARDE is the winner on the judges' scorecards. Here we go then. So, the first judge, John Baylim, he scored it 65 to BETERBIEV versus 68 points to YARDE. See here, got BETERBIEV on the left, 65 points, and YARDE 68 points. Boom. The next judge, Robin Taylor, has it 67 points to YARDE and 66 points to BETERBIEV. And the final judge has it 67 to BETERBIEV and 66 to YARDE. So essentially the fight is... But bottom line, if the judges stop the fight at this point, YARDE would be the winner by a mixed decision. 2 judges have it for YARDE and 1 judge has it for BETERBIEV. Wow, breaking news. And this is why people are said the fight was stopped early. Yeah, you never know what the judges are seeing. You never know that. Only had 3 rounds left. Or 4, however many rounds it was. There weren't that many left. And you're in there with a 50 million year old man. And we'll never know now. But I was thinking about it. Like, think of all the great fights through history. I'm not a historian, but there's been loads of examples of dudes who have looked washed, been down a few times, and then come off to win. Yeah, I'm not a historian, but there's been loads. That's where the great moments are made. And I'm not blaming Tunde, but these new age guys, man, they're not made from the old guy stuff. And I guess you can say, well, YB, the old guys are like Muhammad Ali and can't speak. Come on, man. YARDE hasn't been through the ringer. We're not asking for much. One hard fight every 5 years, essentially. The last hard fight YARDE had was against Kovalev 5 years ago. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, 3 belts are on the line. Do you know how important that is? You got 3 belts on the line. If you don't throw it all in now, when do you do that? Do you know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. This wasn't a case of AJ versus Usyk where he's fanning around and whatever. No. YARDE was ready. YARDE was ready and willing to fight, and he wasn't like, for example, the Eubank fight last week. That fight should have been stopped. Yeah, Bambi had no legs, and it's as simple as that. Didn't know what was going on. YARDE, he never lost his leg integrity. He never lost that neurological processing ability. He was tired. I think the main part was cardio. He was exhausted. He was not buzzed in that sense. He was looking, elbows in, chin down. Yes, he was under pressure, but I mean, there's a fight. Yeah, he'd been knocked down, but it wasn't a real knockdown. A real knockdown is when you see someone's lights go out and their legs crumple, and YARDE didn't go down because he was neurologically compromised. YARDE wasn't oh, my legs have gone thing. YARDE was I've been caught with a big shot, I'm knackered. Ugh. The same really is, that's how he got beat by Kovalev. Kovalev didn't really knock YARDE out. Kovalev exhausted YARDE and he kind of just too much muscle and flopped on the floor. This was a similar situation. YARDE wasn't, oh my god, Bambi all around the ring. He was fine. And that's my beef here. Now the argument is, well, YB, if it had carried on, the next few shots will have put... Listen, we don't know, and that's the point. You were winning on the cards. Now that's another whole debate in itself. Was he winning on the cards? I thought the fight was close. I thought in the UK the fight was close, truth be known. And you man know me, I don't judge things on a normal basis. I like to call it a holistic scoring system. And part of my scoring system takes into account what people expected before. Yeah? So for example, Dillian Whyte versus Jermaine Franklin. The fact Dillian Whyte was a 10-1 favourite. If I see you in a close fight, yeah, and you're in there with a 10-1 favourite, you lost the fight. Do you understand? If you're expected to blow someone out and you end up in a close fight, you're losing. That's how I see things. So, on that basis, yeah, I can see YARDE winning this. Or certainly, that's not fair actually. The fight was a draw. Before the fight was stopped, it was a draw. 50-50. Really. That's how I felt the fight was. I'd be lying if I told you Yarde was winning, and I'd be lying if I told you that BETERBIEV was living up to the 6-1, 7-1 hype that had been said before. But however I see it, Tunde and Yarde will be kicking themselves. This is the fight game. Yes, you'll be put down. These are the great moments. That's where potentially great moments are made. Great moments aren't made in fights where you go in there and you blow the guy out in 2 rounds. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it was. I'm not saying it was coming. I'm saying, but I mean, the other thing you got to factor in. BETERBIEV's 40 years old as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, listen, if Anthony Yarde was the old man, then I get it. Listen, YB, Yarde's a 40-year-old man. There was a young bull putting it on him. You know what I mean? Only getting stronger. Yarde was actually finding his groove. Do you know what I'm saying? He was finding his groove. Arguably, he was doing better than he ever was. In them last, put it this way, them last rounds was better than the first rounds. The first 4 rounds, Yarde looked like a plate of food. It looked like it's only going to be a matter of time until something happens. And then he got hit a few times, warmed up, stopped being so antsy, and then warmed into the squabble. He was just getting going. And I think what let him down the most, was his cardio. I don't actually think it was... He actually was taking most... In fact, no, not most of them. Yarde was taking huge shots from BETERBIEV all night. I don't think it was actually his chin that gave up. And we've got the evidence for that, because his legs were fine. It was exhaustion. They really do need to look into that for Team Yarde. If Yarde's chin's solid. It really is. When you think about Joe Smith, BETERBIEV punched Joe Smith into another universe. Yarde didn't have... Yes, he got stopped, but Yarde didn't have a problem holding them shots, even until the stoppage. I actually thought the referee had stopped the fight. I couldn't believe it. I was actually going to call it a robbery. When I saw that referee step in, I thought you've scammed it. Because... And it's that natural reaction that tells me the stoppage was too early. I felt, what the hell is this referee doing? It's a fight for 4 belts. How many times in your life do you get to fight for 4 belts in London? Do you know what I'm saying? And with all due respect, it's not like, well, YB. I'll be honest with you. Let's say... I mean, the first 4 rounds looked bad for Yarde in that sense, in as much as... It just looked... He was too iffy, he was too nervous, and BETERBIEV looked ominous. He looked like he was sizing up. You know what I mean? He was putting different bits of food on his plate. Ooh, I'll have some carrots, I think. Ooh, what's that? You got any mash with them bangers? That's what he was doing. He was lining up his little Sunday roast. And then, for whatever reason, Yarde started doing what he's supposed to do, started squabbling. I forgot what the point I was going to make now, but end of the day, man. Yeah, we'll never know now. You've definitely lost now. Do you know what I'm saying? Never mind the cards. You've definitely lost now because you jacked. Tunde. I mean, I worry that Tunde trying to think too much now. You know how hard Tunde got criticised the last time. Now Tunde will tell you he don't care. You know what Tunde's like. Tunde's got a huge ego himself. He cares what people think. And I almost feel as if Tunde has overthought this one. Ooh, what would a great trainer do? Ooh, you know what I mean? I'll save him for another day. I think Tunde's potentially overthought this one, trying to be seen as, rather than, you know what I mean? Let things go a little longer. And that's what I was saying actually. Yeah, the first 4 rounds. That's what I was saying. The first 4 rounds, BETERBIEV looked like he had, you know what I mean? He was sizing his thing up. If the last 4 rounds, so the fight was about 8 rounds, yeah. The first 4 rounds, Yarde, well, yeah, like I said, BETERBIEV looked ominous. He was calm. He was just coming forward, no problems. And then the last 4 rounds, for whatever reason, they just started tangling. And that's where Yarde had his best work. Now, if the first 4 rounds had just extended, and Yarde had no success, and BETERBIEV looked unstoppable, and then Yarde goes down, I get that. Listen, YB. BETERBIEV's been building up. BETERBIEV's been breaking him down. There's been no back and forth, and now he's been put down. That makes sense. Pull your guy out. Yeah, your guy got nothing. Your guy had no answers for 8 rounds. Why would he have any now? That's not what happened. For them last 4 rounds, the fight was as good as 50-50, 60-40. Your man's in the fight. Yeah, I was watching the odds. The odds went from 7-1 against Yard. At one point it was like, I think 2.5-1. Huge shift. That doesn't happen for nothing. Yeah? At 7-1 dude doesn't go to 2-1 for nothing. You was in that fight. Yeah? That's what was happening. You was in the fight and your man's pulled you out during your best rounds. Not being funny, in my opinion, Yard wasn't fading any more than BETERBIEV. Yes, you can say BETERBIEV got the shots that... Do you know what I mean? That's all I think. That the only difference here, yeah, was that BETERBIEV got the shot and Yard didn't. It could have... I'm sorry, from what I was seeing, it could have easily been the other way. It was certain points in that fight, BETERBIEV was looking down bad. It just so happened it was Yard's turn. Those are the clutch moments where you say... I mean, I'm not sure how much time was left in the round, but those are the clutch moments I'd have liked. I mean, who knows? Maybe Yard wouldn't have made it. But the thing about Yard is, I noticed, Yard wasn't just a victim in there. There was a few times Yard would cover up, and he was looking to counter. Tunde didn't give him a chance. Yard was just going back to the ropes, and for example, there's certain fighters who get backed up, they go to the ropes, and they just stand there getting teed off on. Yard had been in the situation BETERBIEV had put him in, i.e. against the ropes. This wasn't the first time, people. Yard had pretty effectively worked off the ropes, almost lured BETERBIEV in, and then got some work off himself. The momentum had shifted a few times off the ropes, where Yard had started putting some work in off there. And for all we know, at 39 years old, how many times have we seen people punch themselves out? I was actually, no joke here, the first thing I thought was, yes, Yard's in trouble, but when I saw BETERBIEV going back, I was thinking, is Yard going to put... Number one, I was thinking, is Yard going to put something together as he had been doing off the ropes? And number two, I was thinking, BETERBIEV's really going for it here. What happens if Yard weathers this storm? Do you understand? What happens if Yard weathers this storm and BETERBIEV finds himself, oh no, I've just put all my effort in at 38 years old in round 8, who was already looking... Let's not forget, people, this was the first fight. BETERBIEV's looked a bit iffy. BETERBIEV looked human tonight. Fact, Yard made BETERBIEV look human tonight for the first time in his career. So you got a man who looks human, you got a cutting over his eyelid. Yeah, he's just unloaded himself. Who knows what happens in round 9? If you make it there, we'll never know. Yeah, because Tunde threw the towel in and his man was standing up with his hands up. I just don't get that. Listen, I get it. Yeah, let's say your man is getting backed up by BETERBIEV. His chin's in the air, his hands are down, he's looking at the sky. Or like Chris Eubank Jr., for example. Chris Eubank Jr. looking at the floor with his hands down. You understand? I get that. YB, come on now. Yard was looking at the floor with his hands down. He's finished. I get that. Yard, was like this. Looking forward, looking at the target. Yes, I'm not going to... Can I sit here and tell you he was dominating the fight at that point in time? No. Can I even tell you he was winning the fight at that point in time? No. What I can tell you is he was in the fight. The game's called fighting. It's not called win and dominate every second of every round. Yes, it was looking bad for Yard. It wasn't over for him, though, at that point. Again, over for someone is when... you got no defense, you're not looking at the target, and you got no legs underneath you. Yard had his legs, he had his defense. I'm not sure what else he was really supposed to do at that point. What was he supposed to do? I'm not sure what more he was supposed to do at that point. His hands are up, he's looking at the target. What more can you ask for? YB, but he's supposed to fight back. That was coming again. That's what Yard was doing. Several times, Yard found himself in the corner. He'd cover up for a bit and then let some shots go. But we'll never know because Tunde threw the towel in. I don't know. But we'll never know now. But I'd have loved to have seen what would have happened if Yard could have rode that weather. I mean, Yard's not stupid in the pocket. He can catch and parry and rock and roll and whatnot. Why was Tunde betting against his man rocking and rolling? That shot that put him down, it wasn't Yard rocking and rolling. Yard can rock and roll. I understand Beterbiev's a heavy puncher, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It needs a little bit longer for me. It needs a little. For all we know, yeah. Number one, these are two things that could have happened. Beterbiev could have come running in, unloaded. Yarde manages to survive, and now a 38-year-old man in round 9 is gassed. Yeah, that's what could have happened. Number two, Beterbiev comes running in, gets too confident, and Yarde gets something off of his own in between, punches with him. Yeah, no word of a lie. Yarde needed to make it to the next round, and then Tunde should have told him, I'm giving you one more round, son. Show me what you got. Yeah, this was the time really to say, leave it, empty the tank. That's what should have been coming next. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, it's looking bad for us now. It's big man time. Yeah, I'm going to give you one more round. Show me what you got. That's what should have been coming, but we never got to that point because Tunde overthinking. He doing too much for me. Yeah, this whole saving for another day thing. It's too 2022ish for me. Yeah, it's too new age. You're saving for another day. All due respect, you're only having big fights once a decade. Let's be real now. Anthony Yarde is having big fights once a decade. So you can't have it both ways. Either you fight big fights consistently, at which point you can say, I'm saving him for another day, or you have big fights once a blue moon, and you leave it all out there. You don't, we're not going to fight big fights often, and we're also going to pull a... This is what you've been waiting for. Anthony Yarde's been preparing for 5 years for this night, only to throw in the towel in the clutch moment. Nah, man. I'm not saying he was going to win, but, I mean, these scorecards, they say a lot. That's what we do know. These scorecards, yeah, man. Who knows? That's the thing. You just don't know now. Potentially, all Yarde had to do was get to 12, and might have been controversial, but he wouldn't be the first champion to win a controversial points decision. And then we'd have the rematch. And I'm not being funny, but yes, now the rematch don't make no sense. But you just again, it's I think not too impressed really. I'm not too impressed, particularly when Yarde had been taking them shots. Yarde had been in the corner. Yarde had been under pressure. Yeah, this wasn't new. Oh wow, it's the first time Yarde's been under pressure from Beterbiev. It's round 8 as well. Do you know how much power you lose into the latter rounds? Yes, Yarde was also tired. That didn't help, obviously. But Yarde was taking fresh prime Beterbiev shots in the early rounds. Why not let it go a little piece longer? Anyway, Yarde, he won on the judges' scorecards. He's the champion, 100%. He is the judges' champion. That's what the facts say. Can it be controversial? Can it not be controversial? Who knows? He's done now. But yeah. And Tunde did too much for me. Let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe, and let off the bell 100%.